Hello everyone, this is my room and Doctor Who collection. Now I've been thinking of doing a video like this for quite a while now, I will admit. Never really got round to it, but I just thought, you know, it's February half term, when would be a better time to show off my collection and do a sort of room tour / collection video. So without further ado, here it is basically. I'm going to be providing little background stories and explanations for everything in here, going around everything in close-up and detail, whatever you like. I will just say before I start that I do share this room with my brother, who is a couple of years younger than me. It's not easy, but I do get by. But only half the room actually really belongs to me. It's not all covered in Doctor Who stuff. There are some areas that I won't show just because they're the ones that he occupies and stores his stuff in. I will also say that my half of the room, the stuff that I occupy, is basically just Doctor Who. There's not a lot else in here really, apart from Doctor Who and all the stuff my brother's. So like I say, without further ado, let's start over here, I think. This is my 11th Doctor's TARDIS playset, with a couple of 5-inch figures on show. Rory and the Doctor and River. And moving on to the bottom shelf of this massive unit over here, I've got, well, first of all, at the back there's the complete history books. Very interesting, very good books. They are quite expensive, but you know, what can you do? At the front here we've got some bits and bobs from Wholock, the Sherlock figure and Moriarty custom, and a few props down there from it as well. Moving over here, there's the Lego Doctor Who set, which came out last year, and a couple of other minifigures, 3 bits and bobs that I've picked up in Toys R Us and the Trafford Centre and places like that. There's a Desk Patrol Dalek that came out round about the time that Matt Smith took over as the Doctor. And here we've got something quite unique. It's actually, it's a little globe, but if you look closely, it's basically a light up globe of Cardiff. Got various places on there. Here's the bay and around where, oh, Sherlock. Here's the bay and where the experience is, stuff like that. The little Norwegian church. Various different bits, and the Millennium Centre's on there, yeah, down there. This was a birthday present I think, from my mum a few years ago, because obviously I'm a massive fan of Cardiff because of Doctor Who, the links and associations it's got. Could you stop scratching the door please, cat? Moving over here we've got a couple of odd little bits. First of all, there's the Titan vinyls, which I started, well, I first got one of these in London a few months ago when I went to Forbidden Planet there. That was the Whisperman, and then occasionally as well I've got a couple of other ones from the forbiddenplanet.com sale. You can pick them up for $4.99 with postage, which I think is quite reasonable. It's debatable, you know, whether the ones I've actually been able to pick up are any good or not. I've got an adipose from the 10th Doctor set, which is probably like the worst figure in there because it's not even a humanoid. But anyway, and the 11th Doctor Raggedy variant from the Regeneration set, which is alright, you know, but I would have preferred the 12th Doctor, or I don't know, Night of the Doctor 8th, something like that, but never mind. I've got a few of the Time Squad figures from the new range that came out recently. It was a bit of a flop, but anyway, the 12th Doctor, Vashnarada, and the Weeping Angel back there. I've got a few bits of character building here. The main character building shelf is on the right in a minute, but I'll be explaining that in more detail in a minute. But basically, yeah, the little Cyberman ship that came out towards the end of the range. I'm one of those weird little shooter things with a strategist Dalek. To be honest, the only reason I got that little set was to get a blue Dalek, because I've been spending months and years trying to find one to no avail in the blind bags. Up here I've got my collection of Sarah Jane figures, the whole range, plus the B&M set, 10th Doctor variant, a little canine down there, and also a Weevil from Torchwood, which I got in Cardiff when I first went. It's quite cheap actually in Toys R Us, so I thought why not, even though I hadn't seen Torchwood at that point in time. Just at the back here as well, I've got a TARDIS Bluetooth speaker thing, which I actually won in a competition from the Doctor Who site a few years ago now, which I was very grateful for, obviously, because it's worth about £100, I think, and it's very cool, yeah. I've not really got much use out of it, just because I prefer to listen to music on headphones rather than blasting it out into a room. But anyway, at the back there is a little postcard of the Day of the Doctor, which I got from the Experience when I first went, I think, yeah, in Cardiff. And back there you can't really see it, but it's the Dalek ship that goes with the Cyberman one from Character Building. Over here is the Character Building shelf itself. I have actually got all the stuff in the range, apart from the super rares, obviously. Every set, every little micro figure. But they're not all on display, some of them are in storage. I did used to have them all on display, but then decided to make some more room for my 5-inch figures that I would basically just put some of the in storage and kind of have the first few / best ones out on display. And I think I've still got most of the micro figures on display as well. So all the Doctors, all the Cybermen, Daleks, Amy Ponds, Rorys, River Songs, they're all there. On the next shelf up is my main display of 5-inch figures from the new series of Doctor Who. So starting off with series 1 over here, and going all the way over to series 6 and 5 and all that stuff over there. I'll just give you a brief rundown. I mean, generally there's a row of figures along the front here, and then at the back I've got kind of tiered sections with Daleks and other monsters, just to make the most of the space, because it's a bit of an awkward one. There's a massive gap between the shelves. If you put a shelf here, then there's like not enough space really, not enough height to display figures properly, and then also you have one less shelf for the whole thing, so it just ruins the whole layout of the unit. But anyway, yeah, a row of figures along the front here. Series 1 going into Series 2 over here. I do actually need to get more Series 2 figures, I think, because on those lists that the Doctor Who website does, the Doctor Who site, I really don't have very many of them. I'm missing quite a lot of the Cybermen variants, Clockwork droids, things like that. Then moving on to kind of Series 3 over here with Martha, Face of Bo, hello Bo, all those Daleks at the back as well. So this is basically, well, I don't know. Up to here is the RTD, it moves into Matt Smith, Moffat over here. Kind of got more Series 4 stuff here. End of Time, Wave, and then, like I say, moving into Series 5. I think actually I do basically have every Series 5 figure, apart from a few variants. I mean, I never got the rare Amelia Pond figure from the Doctor Experience. By the time I got there, when it was originally in London, they'd actually sold out of them, long gone, you know, they were gone a long time ago. But I do actually have quite a few of the variants, all the 11th Doctors, basically all of the Weeping Angels, I think, all of the Paradigm Daleks and Ironsides and Giant Daleks, all that kind of stuff. So I'm quite proud of that, because well, obviously Series 5 is a kind of peak point, I think, from when I got into the show. I got into it with Series 4, but Series 5, Matt Smith, 11th Doctor, was really when I started to kind of take more ownership of it, I think, and become a fan in my own right. Then moving on over here, more Series 5 stuff, because like I say, I've got loads of Series 5 stuff, and the range of Series 5 stuff is massive. And then a few more bits of Series 6 stuff over here, all those variants of Matt Smith and Cybermen, Silence, all that kind of stuff. And those wretched Cybermats that we got that still haven't sold out somehow. Up here is the 3.75-inch range, which I did decide to collect in its entirety. I've basically got everything here again, apart from some of the chase figures that I'm missing. I did manage to pick up the dark waistcoat 11th Doctor at the back there, the chase Cyberman with the blue chest piece and arm gun, the looped projected angel, and a Dalek cycle. I'm kind of cheating there a bit, because that's one of the ones with moving brushes released at a later date. It's not from the original wave of Wave 1 figures. The 3.75-inch range was a bit of a mixed bag, really, wasn't it? I mean, the size was a bit of an issue, obviously. The play sets were alright, but pretty average and quite big in a way for such small figures. I mean, there were some nice ones, particularly in Wave 2 and onwards, really. I mean, the Zygons, for example. I suppose actually the Weeping Angels, looking at them there, weren't too bad. The Clara did improve from the Wave 1 version drastically, I think. Obviously the Daleks, you know, they were decent, they were just Daleks. Moving on to the Wave 3 stuff, well actually Wave 3 was pretty poor, to be honest. But then, all these Daleks, yeah, they're pretty decent, like I say. I think actually that the kind of Wave 4, wasn't it? Yeah, the Wave 4 range, all the stuff from Series 8, that was pretty good. The purple shirt Doctor, Time of the Doctor Clara, a bit iffy, and she doesn't really stand up very easily. But moving over that, we've got the Caretaker Doctor, the Foretold, a couple of Cybermen, Danny Pink, the Spiders, Skybox Blitzer, and the Spacesuit Doctor. Yeah, they're okay. The Dalek Patrol Ship as well was alright. Is it a shame that it didn't continue? Well, ultimately no, because I mean the 5-inch figures are superior by, you know, like loads. But it is a sort of a shame that we never got to see the other figures, that the Missy and Night of the Doctor, 8th Doctor, that were mooted but never released for some strange reason. At the back here, if you can make him out as well, is Professor Jones, who's appeared in a few of my adventures. There's that Gaius from Merlin, who was Cardinal Wolsey in an early figure adventure of mine, Time and the Zygons. And there's that weird hobbit creature, goblin thing, that was in Dying of the Light, the first instalment of the Quest for Scovox. Also here I've got two 12-inch Daleks. One is the 50th anniversary British Union Jack one, which took ages to sell out. I think they made too many of them. And it's a bit of a shame it doesn't move as well, it's not remote control. That was a bit of a downside of that variant. But on the other hand, the Asylum Dalek over here, that was a welcome addition to my collection when it was re-released. Well, not re-released, but like, you know, re-updated with new paint apps. 'Cause obviously that one is remote control, and it's a pretty snazzy variant with pretty snazzy colours, really. Not much else to say about that one. Up here on the final shelf is books, but also the mighty 13 Doctor set, which I was lucky enough to get my hands on. We've also got a Mechanoid and Chase Dalek up there, just because, as you'll see when we move on to my classic collection bit, there's nowhere near enough space to put them there with all the other Daleks and countless classic figures that I own. With the 13 Doctor set, yeah, it's a really good set, some great variants in there. Because this set is quite special, it's limited edition, I thought I might as well keep them together, really. And they're just nice standout variants, new updated versions. I thought, why not, you know, just keep them together on a shelf like this and have all the Doctors in one display, which is quite nice. There's also Missy there, the Series 9 variant that I used in Hulock as well, for those wondering. Here we've got something quite weird. It's like a money box thing I made in DT at school many years ago now. As you can see, it was made about the time of Series 7 of Doctor Who. We've got various bits and bobs there, Dalek, Weeping Angel, Shakri, those weird orderly things, Snowman, a Cyberman thing where you put the money in. It's a money box essentially. What else have we got? A weird thing of the 11th Doctor from the Snowman. Oh. I said I'd feed you, I didn't say who to. Dr. Simeon from the Snowman. And this bit, the bit that comes off so you can take the money out and empty it, is based on the design of a Dalek eye stalk thing. I think that's basically all the sides. This was laser cut in DT, like I say, circa 2012 I suppose it was. It's a nice little piece, I suppose, for my collection. One of many actually pieces that I made in design over the years at school, but I don't really use it anymore. It's more of a display piece. It goes back up there. So above and behind the 13 Doctor set, just to give a brief little description here, are all my RTD era books. Most of which actually I probably got second hand, really, because obviously I only became a fan of the show at Series 4, so everything from kind of Series 4 onwards would have been bought new, but a lot of it will have been bought second hand or, you know, after it was originally released. The class books up there, why they're there? Well, basically because there's not enough space in my Moffat bit over there, which I'll get onto in a minute, so I thought I might as well just store them there. I will say as well, The Writer's Tale here is a really, really good read. I've got two editions of it. The final chapter is the best because it's the updated version. But if you haven't read that and you're thinking of a career in television, directing, writing, I would seriously recommend it, because reading that over last summer kind of really inspired me to be a writer, or to at least work in television. Over here, like I say, we have pop vinyls to start with. which is a range that I kind of got a few of these. Some of these I actually got for my birthday and for Christmas from various people. I mean, they're alright for what they are, but I've never really stuck with collecting these because they're quite cheap, and you can tell they're quite cheap. And for what they are, they're a lot of money, and a bit like Lego as well, they're just quite generic, aren't they, really, the design of them. But anyway, swiftly moving on from pop vinyls, behind these we've got all the books from the Moffat era, well not all of them, but all the ones that I own. I think actually I do have every single Matt Smith novel from that range here with the DW logos on, which is quite cool, although I've not read all of them. A couple of Capaldi novels there as well, various other bits. The Diary of River Song, no, The Legends of River Song, The Engines of War, Whoology, Whographica, various bits and bobs. Impossible Worlds, that's another good book that I own. Before I get on to my windowsill full of classic figures, there might be a few bits down here that are of interest. Here are a couple of action figure bits. This was a weird little container thing I made for accessories for the figures. But that was when I stored them in boxes. I used to store all my 5-inch figures in a box, and so I put all the accessories together in there, which is funky. A couple of spare heads and arms in there, which sounds a bit weird. Moving on, a spare Skybox Blitzer and bits and bobs there. Here, obviously, the all-important memory frame thing from when I actually met Peter Capaldi, Mark Gatiss and Jenna Coleman. You might have seen this before in my The Day I Met the Doctor video, but basically, well, yeah, if you haven't, go and watch that now, because I'm not going to explain all this now. But I did meet these people. There I am with Peter Capaldi and Mark Gatiss, and I don't have a picture with Jenna Coleman, but there's my brother and sister with her. I've got her autograph there. There we go. And Peter Capaldi's autograph there, and Mark Gatiss's on the back. Because, well, I thought that Tom Riley, who is here, Robin Hood, I thought he might want to come and do me a favour and sign there, or Jenna Coleman, before I got this snazzy little promo postcard. So I saved the space, but then I never got it filled, so Mark Gatiss had to go on the back, which is a shame. But anyway, what can you do? Down here is a book I'm currently reading. It's The Whoniverse. This is such a brilliant book. It's basically like a bible of Doctor Who stuff. All the episodes and events in the Doctor Who universe, but in chronological order. So not the order that the Doctor visited all these planets and places and times, but the order they came in, the kind of chronological universe order, which is quite interesting. So all the way from the dawn of time to other stuff. It's got history of Gallifrey and other planets as well. Cybermen, Daleks. Very, very interesting book. I would really recommend you get this. I think it's only 15 quid on Amazon these days, although the recommended retail price is about 30, so quite a bargain. Over here we have K9, the re-release from Toys R Us recently. There's my TARDIS playset there with a couple of figures in it that I can't fit anywhere else. We've got all my Doctor Who magazines here, a massive pile of them, because there's nowhere else to put them. I should probably get some boxes to put them in actually. A couple of other bits and bobs there. An original Doctor Who annual, that's one of the prides of my collection. I managed to find that in a charity shop, which was quite lucky I think, really. Over here, these are the paints that I use for any customs I do. A pile of UK Tyson Comics, the original range I did. And over here as well is another thing I made in DT. I did mention I've done lots of these across my school life, different years and places and schools. It's meant to light up, I don't think it does, but it's basically like this thing for the 11th Doctor. That's him there, like, regenerating inside the TARDIS. It's not very clear. There is a bit of writing on the thing, but you can't see that, can you? But yeah, I think it's meant to be like a mood light or something. So different buttons do different lights. And there's a, obviously there's a vacuum formed fez and bow tie for the 11th Doctor, which is, well, you know, cool I suppose. Bow ties are cool. So over here is the windowsill of classic figures. This is the only place in my shared room that I can find space for storing them. So yeah, that's where they're stored. Like with my New Who display, I've decided to maximise space. I've got a whole row of Daleks on top of Funko Pop boxes, so they do come in useful after all, but I've got them along the back and with the main figures on a row in the front, as well as other bits such as those little Richard Dinnick kits, a couple of sonic screwdrivers, bits and bobs, those Taco vending machine figures as well come along further along down the line. So yeah, different eras of Doctor Who, first, second, third, moving into the fourth, and so on. I've not got all of the classic figures by any means. I actually started collecting them quite long after I'd started with the New Who figures, because, well, I only came into Classic Who and got interested in it later on, obviously, like many fans probably do. Many fans, they got into it by New Who. But I am quite happy, quite pleased with the size of my collection, the range of companions and Doctors, monsters that I've got on display. Obviously I like some more classic TARDISes really, because I've only got the new ones. But I am quite pleased with the range, like I say, different colours, different characters, different Doctors, you know, kind of equal spaces roughly for all of them, which is quite nice, I think. Over here, this is where I store my Collector's Series bits and bobs. A nice little custom there of the Doctor from Kill the Moon, although he is a little bit too short, but never mind. Then down here along here we've got the Sonics. The 12th Doctor's Sonic sits proudly there, along with the 11th. 9th, 10th, got the War, 4th and 8th as well. So quite a few of them, most of them really. I'm just missing the 3rd and the 5th and a few other RTD era variants, I think. Here I have my calendar, currently on February, the 2nd Doctor. A very nice piece of kit really. I do quite actually like the designs of all these Doctors. I don't think I've ever really had a Doctor's calendar before. I've always opted for the other option, which is, you know, posters and promotional images from the most recent series or most recent episodes. But it's actually quite nice to have Doctors. I quite like that. We've got the DWM 500 issues poster there, which is funky. A few other bits and bobs, a little signed print thing, Radio Times cover postcards, and a thing there, one from an American artist, signed print, excuse me. Up here, some more bits and bobs, posters, art cards, postcards from when I visited London, and the Globe, which might be of interest to Doctor Who fans, because obviously it was in the Shakespeare Code. And over here as well, more posters. At the end of my bed, the feet end, I've got Gallifrey, so that when I'm sleeping I can look out over my body, over at the other end of the bed, and see Gallifrey, which is nice, I suppose. Probably sounded better in my head, really. And then a few postcards from Series 9 episodes. And then to finish off my bed itself, it currently has on, quite conveniently, a TARDIS duvet cover and pillowcase set, which I got a few months ago, and I've grown to quite like. Actually, it's quite comfy and kind of nice to kind of think, oh, I'm sleeping in the TARDIS. That sounds really weird, but yeah, it's nice to have a Doctor Who set of duvet cover and pillowcase, basically. And then to finish off here, one last DT thing as promised. It's another thing that I made. It was in a textile module, this one, and it's basically a cushion case with the Doctor Who logo on, obviously in TARDIS blue. It's got the DW insignia with the TARDIS light bit, in that kind of white, grey, yellow, weird textured variation from around the time of Series 7 Part 1. So that is basically everything, all of my Doctor Who collection everywhere in here. Everything from figures, 3.75 inch figures to character building, 12 inch figures, 5 inch figures, books, magazines, all sorts of bits and bobs. If you would like to see any more videos going into detail or depth about any of these elements, such as an individual video about figures or books, I don't know, or reviews of any products in here, then please do let me know and I'll definitely consider it. Another thing you might have noticed is missing from this video is my DVD collection. Yes, I do own Doctor Who on DVD, don't fret, I've not converted to that awful kind of trend of going on download and streaming. I'm never going to do that. No, I like DVDs and I have a collection of them in the family living room downstairs. I purely didn't include them here just because it would have made the video so much longer, really, and they're not part of my room, so it wouldn't technically have been a room tour. But I will hopefully be doing a video about them sometime in the future. One of those ones where people like pull them out and go, oh, I like this episode, and the next one, oh, I don't like this one that much, and give their opinion on each episode, each classic DVD, and new DVD as well, while showing the viewer their collection. So if that's something you'd like to see, do let me know, and I'll definitely consider it for the future. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, it does mean a lot to me, and I'll probably see you soon for another top 10, or something like that. Thanks a lot guys, and bye for now.